A curiosity in Indiana, a mill that is still in operation after over 100 years. This is the story of the very fascinating Stockdale Mill.
The Stockdale Mill sits on a small river in the town of Rowan, Indiana. But it wasn't always this way. The mill sits near the center of what was once the town of Stockdale, which was founded in 1837. But even before this, there was another town that used to sit on these grounds. It was known as Vernon. By the mid-19th century, the town of Stockdale had become a hub of local trade. In 1853, their very own post office would open. In 1857, the mill that still stands today was constructed. The original mill, built in 1839, had been destroyed prior. The only remnant left of the old town of Stockdale today is the mill. As railroads began to expand throughout Indiana and the Midwest, the railroad companies would eventually come to Stockdale. Many of the farmers would gladly donate their land to the companies. However, many others would put up staunch resistance, preventing the railroad companies from taking their land. Instead of freely donating their land, they demanded that the railroad companies would pay them for it. Instead of purchasing the land, the companies decided to plan a new route through the nearby town of Rowan. This would mark the beginning of the decline of Stockdale. Only a decade after the railroad had opened in the year 1874, the town of Stockdale was all but abandoned. Despite this, the mill would continue to operate until the year 1964. In the year 2002, it would reopen after renovation.
We do grind flour and cornmeal here yet. This mill was started in 1855 and finished in 1857, and it used to be a stone ground mill. In fact, we have the original stones out here, but in the 30s they made it a roller mill, and we have the rollers mill, or the rollers here. They still work. Everything in here works. We do not use these. The state won't allow us to use them to grind. There's too much. I think it takes like 10 bushel of wheat by the time you get it all run through here till you get flour. So we can't afford that either. We use this little grinder over here. We usually grind 50 pounds of corn and 50 pounds of wheat, and make cornmeal and flour. We're open from usually the first day of May until the last day of October. So we do not charge to go through here. It's all free, but we do like donations. We do not charge. So I might mention, I don't know whether you could see the beams here. This building is 50 foot by 40 foot, and every beam in here is one solid beam, and they were cut around here in 1855. So there's a lot of history, a lot of wood in here. Anyway, there's a lot of work around here. If anybody wants to come around and help, I'd appreciate it.
The Stockdale Mill is a really incredible place. With a dedicated team of volunteers, that have renovated, repaired, and kept the mill running for years. This is certainly a place worth checking out, so if you're ever near the town of Rowan, Indiana, be sure to stop by the Stockdale Mill. And thanks to the volunteers that keep the place running, the Stockdale Mill will never be forgotten.
Smoking us out and tossing us